What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News Round 2. And I want to talk to you guys today about Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew, of course, is a retired fighter, but he plots for a new Super-Cruiserweight division with a vacant title bout already embarked. Okay, now Tony Bellew plans a new weight division after being placed on the WBC committee and proposes Oleksandr Usyk versus Deontay Wilder for the new belt. The former cruiserweight world champion Tony Bellew believes that he can deliver a new weight division for boxing at super cruiserweight after being elected onto the WBC committee aimed in investigating Don Majewski's plans to form the new division for lighter heavyweights. The 37-year-old competed in all three categories from light heavy to heavy during his professional career and is in favor of the creation of the division and believes that Deontay Wilder and Oleksandr Usyk could be the two fighters that fight for the vacant title should the proposal go ahead. In an interview with Talk Sports, Bellew spoke on his own experiences, switches between weight division, and has admitted that change should be enforced as many of the lighter heavyweights cannot compete at the top division simply due to size. He said, "I am a fighter who fought obviously at light heavyweight. I boiled down to that weight category and then jumped up immediately to cruiserweight. I've done it, so I understand how tough the weight jump is. The difference in all the other weight categories is minimum 4 pounds, 3 pounds, sometimes 6 pounds. Weight jumps from light heavy to cruiserweight is from 175 to 200. That's 25 pounds. That's just too much. I get what Don Majewski's saying because in the current game at the heavyweight division, big boys are too big and small, and the smaller heavyweights are not able to compete with the bigger guys. As great as some of them are, the likes of Alexander Usyk is looked at now that he's not going to be able to compete with the monsters. Not because of his boxing ability, pure because of his size. Here's where my thinking goes with the WBC." And he said to Mauricio Suleiman, the president, "I actually like the divisions going from 175 to 190 instead of 200 pounds. That will make it a bit better for the guys who are struggling at that weight, at that light heavyweight division, but are not monster cruiserweights. Then if I had it my way, I would go from 190 to 220. You're looking at the smaller heavyweights. I would have fallen into that category quite comfortably. Oleksandr Usyk would fall into that also. Deontay Wilder also falls into that category quite comfortably. David Haye into that comfortably. Okay. And the Bronze Bomber also dismissed talks of forming a super heavyweight division and believes that his investigation with the WBC committee will lead to the best outcome for the sport and highlighted the potential fights that could take place at 220 pounds. You can't mess around. You can't have a super heavyweight in boxing. There's one heavyweight division. That's all there ever should be. You can't go up messing around with the names of them. People will say, well, what would you call it? I would say you would go to cruiserweight at 190 and maybe super cruiserweight at 220 pounds. Something of that. You can't ever have a super heavyweight division. It's not reasonable. It's ridiculous. Okay, that's the word. Those are the words of Deontay Wilder. Now, let me counterpunch. I can see the potential. I can see why Tony Bellew would want that because they are smaller guys. You do have himself, Tony Bellew, formerly fighting. Oleksandr Usyk is in line for the WBO for the heavyweight division, for the WBO heavyweight strap. Now, he is a lot smaller than someone like Anthony Joshua that can range from anywhere from 230 to 250. I can see the potential. I think I'm siding with Deontay Wilder on this, and I'm going to tell you why. There should be one heavyweight division. I remember in the late 1990s, in the early 2000s, they were actually thinking about bringing a super heavyweight division, but it never fell through because you had guys like Mike Tyson that he was 220 and was still able to compete due to power. Okay, and I think that's the same reason Wilder is able to compete with these guys, because of his power. Okay, not because of his size. He has height and length, but that's not size. Okay, not saying he's weak or anything, or small. He's just not bigger than someone 273 pounds like the glass guy he fought. And we know what happened in that fight. Tyson Fury, people talk about all the other stuff, okay, surrounding that. This is not what this video is for. But what people don't talk about is the huge weight difference. Okay? And also the huge weight difference is not huge, but it was enough to see or recognize from Wilder. Okay, so he gained weight. That made him less mobile. That made him not as flexible, durable like he was, I think. But getting in there with a guy that's 273 pounds, and you know even you're 230, and I think he was around that, that's 40 pounds different. Okay? So it depends on how you look at it. It depends on if you're looking at it like, well, Wilder's a perfect example to be in this new category. Even though he doesn't want it, it would just make more sense because he's just a smaller fighter. And we've seen him with more weight added, and he wasn't as good, or he wasn't as effective, rather. Okay? So you can debate that all day long with the last fight. But you do have people like Fury, like Chisora, like Joshua, like Ruiz. You have those guys, and Ruiz is not a tall guy either. Okay? But those guys are bigger dudes. Big baby Miller, I don't know if he'll ever fight again, but he's 300 pounds. Okay? So that's what we're looking at when the possibilities of opening up a new category. And I think at this point, you have people like Mike Tyson, like David Tua, even though David Tua actually gained a lot more weight later in his career. You know, Chris Bird is another one. I just did a video about him. Those guys were able, because of size, because of their because of their attributes, were able to compete with those bigger guys regardless of how big they were. Okay, so as long as you have those guys that are able to fight in those weight classes, I don't think it's a shot. However, okay, if you have a guy like Wilder, and depending on what happens in the Wilder fight, and they're trying to open up, especially on the WBC end, and there's a fight that could possibly happen, you know, a get-back fight. Oleksandr Usyk, do you think he would take that fight? That's a question. If he beats Fury, then it's out of the question. Then we don't have to have this conversation. But if he loses again, wouldn't that be the next step to fight someone like Usyk for a vacant new weight division? Because he's about 218, 220. That's his sweet spot. Not 231, not 232. I don't think he belongs that heavy. But at 218, 220, because we've seen him as low as 209. I think he fought Ortiz in his first fight at 209. But I know he was sick. I get it. But he can still make the weight. Okay, so him versus someone like Usyk at that weight class, at that point, maybe it's reasonable. That's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think about Tony Bellew's plans. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunching. Peace.